Hi, Mr. Nunez. Just wanted to check your audio and let you know that we are live.
Thank you for both. How's that?
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Larry.
Hey, Jeannie. How are you?
What's going on in Morgan Hill?
Nothing good.
Oh, man.
Hi, folks. This is Anita. Your audio sounds great. I just wanted to let you know that we're live.
We are live?
Yes.
Thank you, Anita.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Larry, sorry to hear about the election result there.
I appreciate that, Rob. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry to hear it. Hi, Carlos.
Hi, Jeannie. Good to see you.
You too.
Hi, folks. I just wanted to let you all know that we're live. Taki, I can hear your audio. I'm going to go ahead and mute you.
Hello, Tracine or Elaine. I'm not, Elaine. I'm not sure which one of you is driving here today, but just to let you know, Cindy is not going to be able to attend the meeting, and so I'll be driving.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Vice
Okay.
Chair Hendricks.
All right.
You get to take us out for a test run, huh?
Sure, we can go with that. Hello, everyone.
Hello, Mr. Larry Carr.
Hey there, John.
I'm glad to see your smiling face.
Always.
Always.
Hi, Mr. McAllister. Just a note to let you know that we're live.
Oh,
Careful what you say about me, John.
nothing but good things. Nothing but good things.
John, I was going to come play golf in your city tomorrow, but they gave away my tee time.
Which one? Saratoga, Mountain View, or Stanford?
Now, that's Shoreline.
Okay.
I might have to go to Coyote Creek instead. I'm going to head down Larry's way.
Okay. Larry may have some extra time on his hand to join you, so we'll see.
Yeah, you're right, John.
I think there's a lot of us are going to have some extra time on their hands come soon, so you won't be alone.
Larry, I was so dismayed to see the news. Tell me where I gotta go find some lawyers and protest the result or something.
Yeah, stop the count, Sam.
I'm sorry, man.
I'm Mary Licardo. This is Anita. I just wanted to let you know we're live.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, everybody, this is Elaine. Just wanted to let you know, I think we have a quorum. So on the dot at 5:30, we can go ahead and get started whenever you're ready.
Thank you.
Elaine, just let me know when it's 5:30 on your clock.
Will do, thanks. All right, Mr. Vice Chair, it's 5:30 on my clock.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. This is Glenn Hendricks, the Vice Chair. Our Chair, Cindy Chavez, is not going to be able to make it this evening, so she's asked me to go ahead and drive the bus, literally. So I'm going to call the VTA Board of Directors regular meeting for Thursday, November 5th, 2020 to order. Thank you for attending our board meeting tonight. And at this time, I would like to ask you to unmute your mic so we can do a roll call. And Elaine, could you please do a roll call for us?
Alternate Board Member Blankley, ex officio Board Member Bruins,
Present?
Board Member Carr,
I'm here.
Board Member Carrasco, Board Member Cortese, alternate Board Member Davis, Board Member Dieppe, alternate Board Member Ellenberg, Board Member Jones,
Present.
alternate Board Member Nis, Board Member Licardo,
Present.
Board Member McAllister,
Yep, I'm here.
alternate Board Member Miller,
Here.
Board Member Nunez,
I'm here.
alternate Board Member O'Neill,
Present.
Board Member Perales, Board
Here.
Member Ren, thank you. Board Member Rennie,
Present.
Vice Chair Hendricks,
Attending.
Chairperson Chavez.
Okay, thank you.
We
I
have a
think,
quorum. Thank you.
yeah, we're going to skip 1.2. I think that's hard to do during in a virtual meeting. So I'm going to move on to 1.3 orders of the day. Do I have any changes from my colleagues? And I lost my, let me get that screen. I'm seeing no raised hands from any of my colleagues.
So moved, Licardo.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
I said so moved.
Okay, so we have a
Second.
motion. Who seconded that?
Bob Nunez.
Okay. Since there were no changes, do we actually need to take a vote? I'm seeing Evelyn shake her head no, so I'm going to move on. We're to item 2, awards and commendations. And we do not have any items under item 2 today for awards and commendations. Right now, we are at item 3, public comment. Public comment. This is a reminder for those who wish to address the board under public comments. Please use the raise hand function in the app, or if you're using your phone only, press *9. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons desiring to address the board of directors on any item within the board's jurisdiction. We are going to be limited to 1 minute. The law does not permit the board to take any action or extended discussion on anything except in special circumstances. I would encourage those that have customer services concerns to contact our customer service department after you make your comments, and their contact information will be on the screen. I'm going now to our attendees list, and it looks like we have several people who wish to address the board. So Anita, are you doing it, or?
Yes, I'll
Okay,
go ahead and start.
okay, go ahead.
Tessa, please go ahead and speak when you're ready.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah. I'm very disappointed that there's only a minute. And of course, that's the change of your governance, that you just cut the public access. That's the problem. But now we have many problems that we're not facing. And it's the demagoguery of our representatives, of Deb Davis and people like Mayor Licardo, that are demagogues, calling the black and brown people the problem, when our problem is climate change and COVID-19 and taking care of the health of our community. And we're not facing that. And the fact that the Mayor Licardo at the MTC is saying that we can't have people working at home. And I'm seeing that my workers that I'm paying for, they are going to City Hall because you are just selling them out, not letting them work at home. We need to work at home. And this thing of saying that you're not going to let the MTC because it's not good for business, that you're going to have the just go ahead and not encourage the MTC, to encourage all businesses to not.
Okay, thank you. Next speaker, please.
Jeremy, please go ahead and speak when you're ready. Jeremy Ehrman.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. I've been unemployed since March and I have no car. VTA is pretty much the only way I have to get around. The service cuts have been very difficult to deal with. The guidelines as to how many people fit on a bus have not been consistently applied. The website is very inaccurate. Route 21 is using the smallest buses, and it's insane. These buses are small and cramped. There's only one door. There's very little accessibility. Larger buses were used when there was no fees, but now that you're charging again, use the smallest buses on Route 21. It makes no sense. It's insane. I emailed VTA and the board comments about the proposed cuts for the 2021 service. It's basically told, oh, well, we have to cut the evening service, but buses will be back by 2022. This does not help me to tell me that being unemployed, I can't use the buses to take me to my job until 2022. I urge you to keep the evening service and really listen to people. Please cut the BART.
Okay, thank you. And to all of our speakers, we have an extremely long list of people that are to speak. If you want to speak, please make sure you raise your hand now, because in a minute, I'm going to go ahead and tell staff to draw the end of the line. So next speaker, please.
Kevin Ma, please go ahead and speak when you're ready.
Hello, VTA board. My name is Kevin Ma. I'm 23 years old, and I'm here with Silicon Valley Youth Climate Action Transit Team and Turn Out for Transit. Our transit system desperately needs money to sustain itself because, as we've seen in the past 20 years, that VTA bus lines have been actually gradually cut throughout the process instead of getting more better. And we're still facing the same climate crisis as well as equity concerns about people trying to get to work, especially in these troubling times. We should be doing the most we can to sustain our services in order to provide ability for people to get anywhere to anywhere else, because we also know that we talk about things like transit-oriented development. Well, we can't really do that if there's no more transit anymore. And we still need to make our SB 375 requirements for general greenhouse gas emissions. And transit is going to be one of the main ways to do it, because building electrification is going to take time, but transit is going to be very much in that picture still. Thank you.
Okay, and to staff, before we go on to any more speakers, let's take 262 as the last person in line for public comments.
Okay. Moria, please go ahead and speak when you're ready.
Okay, I think now you can hear me. Okay, good.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I was trying to speak while I was muted. Thank you for taking my comment tonight. I want to urge you to maintain or increase the level of transit that's available. It's a really essential service, and it would be heartbreaking to see it slide back or become decreased. I understand that you're considering some kind of a decrease in transit. I'm super lucky to be able to have a private car, and yet even with a private car, I do rely on transit. In lots of situations, I rely on it if my car is broken, if I need to go to the airport. I rely on it to go to Santa Cruz at night because I'm no longer able to drive over 17. I think there could come a time when I rely on it for everything as I get older. I have friends who are seniors and friends who are low income who do not have the option to get around except by transit, and it's just really essential for us for lots of reasons, for caring for all of us as a community, as well as for reducing greenhouse gases. We need to go in the direction of more transit and more options, including more bicycling. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Charlotte, please go ahead and speak when you're ready.
Hi, my name is Charlotte. I live in San Jose. I grew up here. I'm urging you to please not cut transit. If anything, we need to be expanding it. And I know that nobody wants to do that because of budget cuts, but you have to really always keep in mind, just like one of the speakers said, like this really affects people's lives. Especially buses are critical to increasing mobility for people who can't drive or can't afford to. And there's only going to be more and more of us, people who have been affected economically and physically by COVID-19. It's a critical part of improving in this world and in this area, and it's very important to climate change. Please, please, please do your utmost to actually maintain transit services. It's pretty horrifying how far behind the Bay Area is in comparison to the rest of the world, and the fact that we even need to have these discussions about maintaining it. Please remember that you are negatively affecting real human beings whenever you cut any service at all, especially buses.
Aiden, please go ahead and speak when you're ready.
Hello, my name's Hayden. I'm a high school student and I depend on transit to get around. So hearing that VTA is planning for massive cuts after a pandemic when many are unemployed, it's really disheartening. People depend on VTA to get around, and you know, there's new funding opportunities. We got to look at front loading funds, looking at more ways to get money for transit, because if we don't, the region's going to suffer and the low income riders are going to suffer. Everyone's going to suffer.
Thank you. Mr. Beekman, please go ahead and speak when you're ready.
Hi, thank you. I hope at this point in early November, we're all becoming clear with the idea there may be an expected rise in COVID-19 cases throughout the winter, and that we are going to work hard so that that the previous 70 deaths a week across the Bay Area may only grow to a minimum amount of 100 to 120 a week. For all of our efforts and worry at this time, this means to please continue to use caution and safe practices all through the fall and early winter. There's an important October 14th sstpo public meeting now available that is working to help make clear how there can be good nightly cleanings of VTA paratransit vehicles. Write in with your ideas what can aid, what you can add to better cleaning ideas. Thanks a lot. With 10 seconds left, good luck on how we work on the issues of COVID. How do we address that at this time? Thank you.
Phone number ending in 7876. Please go ahead and speak when you're ready.
That's me. My name is Dean. I'm with the DNZC. I'm disabled. And by changing the bus, you're affecting disabled people and also the paratransit. And furthermore, not everybody can work online, so some people still need a bus. And finally, our governor has made a mandate that he wants us to be emission free. So without the buses, how are we going to become a climate change? Thank you.
Thank you.
Kaushik Toda, please go ahead and speak when you're ready.
Good evening, honorable board members. My name is Kaushik Toda. I'm a senior at St. Francis High School, and I'm a Sunnyvale resident. I'm here with Silicon Valley Youth Climate Action and Turnout for Transit. As you're all likely aware, a resilient and effective public transportation system is crucial to the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions from the transportation sector, as it takes large amounts of single passenger automobiles off the roads. In addition, public transport is an incredibly important part of the lives of hundreds of thousands of Bay Area residents who depend on it to get to work, to get to school, and to get to other significant locations. In addition, public transportation is more than just a sustainable solution. It reduces congestion, noise pollution, and makes our Bay Area more livable. With all of this in mind, I urge the Valley Transit Authority to not cut service nor reduce funding for our home's public transportation system, crucial to the well-being of hundreds of thousands of Bay Area residents. Please consider the pleas of myself and my fellow speakers. We depend on you for a habitable planet Earth.
Thank you.
Daya Kandara, please go ahead and speak when you're ready. Go ahead and unmute yourself. Okay, we'll come back to them.
Oh, sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay, apologies. Okay. So, hello board. My name is Dia Kandra. I'm a 16-year-old student of Ansobrado High School in Morgan Hill within Santa Clara County. I'm also here with Silicon Valley Youth Climate Action and Turnout for Transit. I have seasonal asthma concentrated around the summer and autumn months. The most challenging instances have been when throat-scorching wildfire smoke drifts into the air and challenges my breathing. And this year particularly has been one of the worst, as just within one interval from August to September, California's wildfires released in 6 weeks what more than 1 million cars would release in a year. And with 40% of our emissions of the county coming from primarily cars and trucks, wildfires aren't going to go away anytime soon. So it's essential that we improve our air quality in any way we can. And I'm hopeful that with the survival and prioritization of our county's public transit, we will move towards a future with cleaner air and healthier generations. Please save transit now so that my peers and I can continue to breathe. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Tiffany Chen, please go ahead and speak when you're ready.
Hi, my name is Tiffany. I am a student at Monte Vista High School, and I am 17 years old. I live in San Jose in Santa Clara County, and today I'm here with SCYCA and Turnout for Transit. Many students elderly and people who cannot afford driving their own cars heavily rely on transit. And in Santa Clara County, 40% of greenhouse gas emissions come from transportation. And I'm extremely worried for the air pollution and the environment of our county. And I strongly feel that we need to avoid service cuts, implement more sustainability and environmental awareness so that we can fight climate change. And we need to do everything we can to save transit. Thank you for your time and for your consideration.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Pragya, please go ahead and speak when you're ready.
Give me 1 second. Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, go ahead.
Hello, I am Pragya Natarajan, a 15-year-old attending Cupertino High School. I live in San Jose in Santa Clara County, and I'm here with Silicon Valley Youth Climate Action and Turnout for Transit. Out of around 2,000 students who physically attended Cupertino High School last school year, many, including myself, used the VTA bus system before the pandemic. If the Valley Transit Authority cuts down transit service, it will not only be harmful for our climate, but also our people, including youth like me, who will need transit to get around once the pandemic is over. My generation suffers the brunt of climate change as even the air we currently breathe is filled with smoke. And public transit is one thing that gives us a chance for a better future. We know COVID-19 is a strange situation, but currently the public transportation system is one of the ways to help stop larger catastrophes. I urge the Valley Transit Authority to keep our world living another day. Thank you for your time and hospitality, and we hope that you do not cut 30% of your operations.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Carolyn Villa, followed by Sonia, and then John Joey. Carolina, please go ahead and speak when you're ready.
Yes. My name is Carolina Villa, and I'm a senior at Presentation High School. I live in downtown San Jose, and I'm here with Silicon Valley Youth Climate Action Transit Team and Turnout for Transit. I'm really trying to do my part. I'm trying to be a good daughter. I'm trying to be a good friend. I'm trying to be a good person. I understand that my parents don't have the luxury to buy me a car or pay my Uber every time I need a ride. I want to be there for a friend when they truly need me. And I'm trying to be a person because I know I use a lot more resources at a faster rate than the world can regenerate. I need transit. I use transit to go to places. I use transit to be there when someone is in need. I use transit because I care about my community and the world around me and the world. And I understand that sometimes it's my only option to get around. And it's devastating that you guys are considering to cut 30%. And thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. And the next speaker, please.
Sonia, please go ahead. Sonia? Okay, we'll move on. John Joey, please go ahead and speak when you're ready.
Wait, are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay. Hi, I'm Sonia. I'm a student at Cupertino High School and I live in Santa Clara County. And I know you guys have been listening to a lot of comments and you guys are probably going to, but I hope you guys are paying attention to this common trend that's going on. You know, lots of students, including myself, we depend on public transit as a safe means of transportation. It's a large factor to greenhouse gas emissions in Santa Clara County, and we've been struggling a lot with recent wildfires too. And in a place like Bay Area, public transit is really essential and it's more efficient than just focusing on highway expansions. And I do understand that they're budget cuts, but maintaining transit services is a bigger priority. I don't have a car and I don't think I can afford one in the future, but as long as public transit services don't plummet, I know I can rely on something. So thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
John Joey, please go ahead and speak when you're ready.
Hi, my name is John Joey Telebrico. I'm currently a sophomore attending Claremont McKenna College, but I'm here.
Looks like he dropped off. We have Alexis, followed by Danica, and then Aya. Alexis, please go ahead and speak when you're ready.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hello, my name is Alexis Tan. I'm 15 years old and I attend Santa Clara High School. I'm here with Turnout for Transit and Silicon Valley Youth Climate Action. I urge you to avoid transit service cuts. This is important to me because climate change has drastically impacted us through droughts and fires and will continue to do so in the future. More than 40% of Santa Clara County's greenhouse gas emissions come from cars. Cutting transit now will only cause more people to resort to driving. In addition, many essential workers and others use transit to get to work and cannot afford to lose it. For these reasons, I urge you to prevent transit service cuts. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Hi, can I hop back in? Sorry, I think my internet cut out really quickly. Is that okay?
What was
Yes,
your name?
go ahead. Go ahead,
Okay.
John.
Awesome, thank you. Hi everyone today. My name is John Joey Talbrico. I'm currently a sophomore attending Claremont McKenna College, but I'm here today as a longtime resident of Santa Clara, former student of Archbishop Mitty High in San Jose, and at the urging of Turnout for Transit. I'm here today to speak on behalf of the vital importance of transit and how it's consistently given me access to get home after a long day of schooling when I couldn't afford other costly options. A 30% transit cut would mean that other youth who were in my position growing up would have to wait in the cold instead of getting home. It could mean not being able to meet the breadline for workers who rely on consistent public transit. It would mean excluding climate-oriented, disabled, and elderly residents of this area. And that is not the image the VTA ought to build for itself. The American Public Transit Association has analyzed Silicon Valley, and in its landmark study notes that public transport yields a 2-to-1 return while helping generate income for local businesses, its workers, and their neighborhoods, up to $174 billion in sales generated. I urge you to consider other cost-saving measures and alternatives to save transit and preserve a necessary service. Reaffirm our faith in the VTA's duty to serve the public and vote for uplifting the residents of this area today. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Danica, please go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Hello, my name is Danica. I'm 15 years old and I'm a current sophomore at Presentation High School. I'm from San Jose and I'm currently with the Silicon Valley Youth Climate Action Transit Team in Turnout for Transit. Prior to quarantine, my parents were able to drive me to school and any other places I had to be. For some of my friends, however, public transit was their only means of getting where they need to go. Sometimes they would be late to class because there were often delays between bus arrival times. Many people use public transit, and without it, they would be unable to go to their jobs, support their families, or attend school. And thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. And our next speaker.
Aya, followed by Cole and Christina. Aya, please go ahead and speak when you're ready.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. My name is Aya Buzari, and I live in Santa Clara, and I'm part of Students for Environmental Equity at De Anza. Transit is not only important to me, but also to my community. I have used the transit countless of times to get to my classes and my internships, especially when I had no one to take me. I know several of my peers use the transit as their only source of transportation to get to their destination because they can't afford a car, including myself. 10,000 students signed up for a Clipper card through De Anza pre-COVID, just to show you how many students use public transit. This 30% cut will be extremely detrimental to me, to my peers, and to my community members, especially low income and people of color. Additionally, having accessible public transit is beneficial for the environment. Our community and our planet needs a public transit, so please, I urge you to consider solutions to save transit. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Cole, please go ahead and speak when you're ready.
Good evening, Council. This is Cole Cameron. I first want to thank Jay and his team for helping us expand the bus service out to the VA new center that's helping our vets get around. I'm the chair of the County Veterans Commission, and we really appreciate that support to our vets. We hope that that continues with more bus service instead of having to cut the bus 65 out here where I'm the chair of the Cambrian Community Council off of Union in the Cambrian Plaza area, because more buses are needed for, as you've been hearing from the students, they're much cleaner vehicles these days, so it helps the environment, and I think that they're economical also. So I look forward to considering more bus service as we develop, because it's been on a steep decline for not just years, but decades. Thank you for the time this evening. Have a good meeting.
Thank you. And our next speaker, please.
Christina, followed by John and Louisa. Christina, please go ahead and speak when you're ready.
Hello, my name is Christina Fan, and I'm a resident of San Jose. I'm here with students for environmental equity at the Anza and Turnout for Transit. Transit was absolutely crucial for me all throughout high school. I would say a majority of my high school was reliant on VTA. Public transit gave me means to get to an internship without having to worry about how I'd get there. And I don't think I would have been able to have that experience, and I wouldn't be as successful without transit. I'm not in high school anymore, but this exact scenario applies to my classmates at the Anza. A third of our students use VTA. That's 10,000 students. We fought to have Smart Pass available to all of our students. Without VTA, it'd be that much harder for low-income students of color to come to school. So it's not only an environmental issue, this is an equity issue. So please, I urge the board to consider the solutions to save transit. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And our next speaker, please.
John, Courtney, please go ahead.
Good evening, Chair. Good evening, Mr. Chair. Thank you for allowing me to have this time to speak. Congratulations to Dave. There's some victories coming along after that. I'm hoping that my hometown of Philadelphia can pull it off for the presidential election. Of course, I'm against service cuts. It's ridiculous. But what I wanted to talk about tonight is a little bit different. In the ATU, we've had 90 deaths of operators and mechanics, and we've actually lost a family member, very close family member. Miss Audrey Lopez was an operator for 13 years out of the Cerrone division. She was an absolute sweetheart, absolute sweetheart. Loved her grandchildren, loved to laugh, loved life. And our family misses her. And I also want to thank Raj Srinath. I want to thank Nuria, and I also want to thank Cindy Chavez for ultimately doing the right thing for Audrey. So thank you so much, and God bless Audrey.
Thank you. And our next speaker, please.
Louisa, followed by Sahana and Hoyan. Louisa, please go ahead and speak when you're ready.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Louisa. I've lived in Santa Clara County for 3 years, I believe. I'm with Environmental Equity at the Anza. For this past few years, I've depended heavily, as well as other students at the Anza, on transit. I'm not fortunate enough to have my own car, as well as other students, so I do urge you to consider other solutions. Otherwise, I believe we would have many students, especially those of low-income background, struggling even more to attend classes or go to work. Those students, they wish they were here, but unfortunately they were working. Again, in addition, as I believe we've had our fair share of struggle this year, I do not believe that having a 30% transit cut would in any way bring positive outcomes for our community, but instead one more thing on a pile of issues we had right now in California. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And the next speaker, please.
Sahana, please go ahead.
Hi, my name is Sahana and I'm a sophomore at Santa Clara High School. I'm currently 15 years old and have lived in Santa Clara and Sunnyvale for the 15 years of my existence. I'm fortunate enough to be able to walk and bike to most places I need to go, but I know many people, including my neighbors and friends, who rely on public transit to get to the places they need to be. When I'm older, it'll be a system I will depend on to get around as well. These transit service cuts would affect us all greatly and contribute to climate change. You have the power to keep this from happening, so please take action. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. And our next speaker, please.
Hoyan, please go ahead and speak when you're ready.
I'm Wyan Truong. I do not own a car. I'm with Mothers Out Front and Turnout for Transit. A 30% cut could render public transit unusable for many riders, including myself, to get to work in essential services. Cuts will lead to more homelessness. Cuts could put up to 60 to 70,000 more cars on the road. I urge you to consider front-loading Measure B funds and other ways to preserve service. Help is on the way. Activists will introduce a bill this spring to convert the state bank into a public bank. This could save the state billions of dollars, which could then be used to assist in pandemic relief and recovery and help fund transit service. We will experience climate effects that include wildfires, drought, and floods for decades to come. Our climate goals will be ruined without public transit. Thank you for your service.
Lisa, followed by Jenny and then Daniel. Lisa, please go ahead and speak when you're ready.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, good evening. My name is Lisa and I'm a resident of Milpitas as well as a member of Silicon Valley Sunrise Movement. Public transportation is extremely important for our community. As someone who took the bus to and from school every day, I understand how crucial it is to have reliable transportation. Even with the VTA services at that time, I had trouble getting home after 6 p.m. because the services to my home stopped after that time. For people who need to get home from work, this is extremely important and transit cuts will hurt them. Not everyone can afford a personal car, including me, and since I'm home from college, this is going to really affect me once coronavirus gets better. Additionally, public transportation is crucial for reducing greenhouse gases from personal cars. How can we consider ourselves the hub of technological innovation in Silicon Valley if we don't even have a strong public transport system? I urge you to save transit. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next speaker, please.
Jenny, please go ahead.
Hi, I'm Jenny Green. I live in San Jose and I'm a member of Mothers Out Front. I urge you to consider solutions to save public transit. It's important for the climate and it's the only method of transportation available for many people in our community. I also want to say within the past year, I attended a meeting with staff from the city of San Jose who said they were planning to reduce the number of parking spaces required in new multifamily buildings as a way to discourage people from buying cars and encourage them to use public transit. If you're going to do that, then you need to please provide public transit for people to ride. In conclusion, this valley is already a very tough place to live for people who don't have a lot of money. Please don't make it harder by cutting public transit. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next speaker, please.
Daniel, followed by Patrick and then River. Daniel, please go ahead.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Hello, my name is Daniel Hun. I'm a 22-year-old student at San Jose State from Santa Clara for Silicon Valley Youth Climate Action. As you all know, we just had an election. While we don't know the full results for the presidential one, along with some various other ones, I would like to first congratulate those who I've gotten to know as virtuous and fearless public servants, especially Supervisor Cortese here on the VTA for their seeming victory, all well deserved. But one thing is clear, we the people want and need public transit. Measure RR has been approved in a landslide with about a third of voters voting yes. While it could raise money, we are still in the worst transit financial crisis in history because of COVID. Every dollar counts in order to save transit for seniors to live out their golden years, for the disabled to live life to the fullest, for the less fortunate to keep their jobs and look for new ones, and of course students like me who need it for when many schools come back to in-person classes for the coming semester. Staff has proposed a.
Thank you. And our next speaker, please.
Patrick, please go ahead.
Patrick?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, VTA board members. My name is Patrick Ahrens. I serve on the Foothill De Anza College Board, but I'm representing myself only tonight. I just want to start out by saying how much I appreciate all of you and all the work that you do as regional leaders for our county and your dedication to finding the best solutions for our mass transit issues that we're having right now in these really unprecedented times. I know that you all have difficult decisions to make, but I ask that you please consider not making cuts towards transit, especially where it may negatively impact and harm our students. This past Monday, our Board of Trustees proudly passed a contract renewal with our VTA Smart Pass contract with you. We did so because we understand the difficult situation you have before you, but we want to continue to be a partner with you to not just provide transit for our students getting from point A to point B, but the opportunity that the transit lines represent. And so my time is almost up, but I just want to say thank you again, but please don't make cuts to transit for students.
Thank you. And our next speaker, please.
River, followed by Ari and James. River, please go ahead when you're ready.
My name is River Harris. I live in Campbell, but I work in Santa Clara, take classes in Cupertino and Los Altos, and volunteer in downtown San Jose. The 323 and the 23 buses were my lifeline between classes at Dianza and the LGBTQ youth space where I volunteer. I would take the light rail home at night to the end of the line. Now I have some access to driving a car, but I still take the buses out of habit and convenience. I take the 60 to work now as I resume retail at Valley Fair. A 30% cut would severely limit transit routes and frequency, and more often than not leave me stranded outside the mall after closing up shop. I am deeply grateful for the advocates before me from Dianza to ensure that all students have access to a Clipper card. I believe that Clipper passes should be more accessible for people, and that businesses could encourage their employees to take public transit. I think it is absurd that the most of the funding of VTA is by the people who take the transit. I urge you to find partnerships with businesses and companies with campuses along existing routes to partner with the Clipper program as only one of the many possible solutions to save public transit. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next speaker, please.
Ari, please go ahead.
Hello, my name is Ari Feinsmith, and I'm a college student at Mission College. I'm here to ask you all to support transit. I used to use VTA often as a community college student, taking the light rail down to San Jose and other destinations, and occasionally the bus as well. When we return to a sense of normalcy, I plan on continuing to use transit, so I ask that you support transit. Also, Measure RR is looking like it's going to pass. This means that Caltrain is going to be saved from shutting down. In fact, it looks like it has a lot of promise in giving subsidies to people who are students and the poor. And my point is, Caltrain is going to be thriving. It makes sense that we should support VTA transit also, so they can thrive together. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next speaker, please.
James, followed by Yolanda and Linda. James, please go ahead when you're ready. James does not have the correct technology, unfortunately.
Okay, next speaker.
Yolanda, please go ahead when you're ready.
Hi, sorry about that. So I'm a teacher in downtown San Jose, and as you can hear, many students need to use bus, like my students. Teachers also use public transportation for field trips to the museums and going through other areas in the city. To me, I think it's a narrow-mindedness of city planning to only think that bicycles are the part of the planning, only part of the planning. Public transportation should go hand in hand for having bicycles and having public transportation for all people. If you cut 30%, you're also cutting the elderly and disabled for using the transportation. And earlier on in the beginning, where these gentlemen were talking about golf, it's like playing golf without a caddy. So I feel that you really need to think broader and think about the people who actually live here, who actually depend on using public transportation. Thank you.
Thank you.
James, please go ahead and... Linda, please go ahead and speak when you're ready.
Hi, good evening. My name is Linda Hutchins Knowles, and I'm a resident of San Jose and a member of Mothers Out Front Silicon Valley. Like every speaker I've heard tonight, I strongly urge you to retain existing VTA service levels. This is vital for health, for climate, and for equity. As a mother of a child with asthma, I care very much about reducing the greatest commuter air pollution in the valley, gas-burning vehicles. We live near a highway, which means that my children breathe higher levels of air pollution. Public transit plays an irreplaceable role in getting ICE cars off the roads. This improves our air quality and reduces congestion. It also is essential to meeting our climate goals. If you cut service by 30%, you'll likely be forcing up to 60 to 70,000 more cars onto the roads, and this will damage our climate goals and public transit. Finally, so many in our community rely on transit, like youth, seniors, essential workers, disabled, and people that can't afford a car. Please do your utmost to retain transit services so you don't hurt the most vulnerable in our community. Thank you so much.
Before we go to the next speaker, I just want to let people know we had already close people being able to get in the queue, and I see people are trying to get in, staff should be letting you know that there's going to be, you know, you can have other ways to contact us, but we've already set the end of the line for the speaker queue. Next speaker, please.
Our next speaker will be Bob, Zinran Sisi, and Natasha. Bob, please go ahead and speak when you're ready.
Bob, are you there?
Hi. Hi, sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, sorry about that. My name is Bob. I'm a resident of District 3 in San Jose. I'm here with Turnout for Transit. Public transit's a critical service in Santa Clara County. It's critical for equity reasons because it enables transportation for people who don't have access to a vehicle. It's critical for environmental reasons because it reduces greenhouse gases. And it's critical for quality of life reasons because it reduces congestion, noise pollution, and injuries and fatalities from traffic. A 30% cut would obviously, you know, significantly impede our progress on all three of those axes, and it would, you know, probably last for a very long time. If we make these kind of cuts, it could take a very long time to recover from them. It would really impede our region's progress on our development goals, and our climate goals and our equity goals. And so I strongly encourage the board to find ways to avoid a 30% service cut, including possibly front-loading Measure B funds and any other options on the table to really prevent this, because I really think the you know, the repercussions of this will be very long-lasting and very negative. Thank you.
Zinran, please go ahead.
Hello, I'm Cece, a junior from Saratoga High School. I'm 16 years old. I live in Saratoga in Santa Clara County, and I'm here with Silicon Valley Youth Climate Action Transit Team and Turnout for Transit. So every year during New Year's Eve, my grandma, who's 78 years old and lives in Mountain View, will use the VTA public transit to visit my family here in Saratoga. So public transit is for some elder students and people who live in less privileged communities, the only way for them to go to places they couldn't reach by walking. So my grandma will not be celebrating New Year with us without the VTA public transit. And I couldn't imagine Santa Clara County without sufficient public transit, because I know that it will create burdens for many households that depend on it, including my family. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much. And our next speaker, please.
Natasha, followed by Susan, and then Mallory. Natasha, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. My name is Natasha Kagul. I am a former resident of Los Gatos, California, where I graduated from Los Gatos High School, currently living in San Francisco, calling in because my family, my community, my friends rely on public transit, and cutting public transit right now, cutting public transit at all is just something that we cannot do if we want Silicon Valley to be the place that everybody says it is. Transit needs to not just be available at this point, but competitive, given the tragic passage of Prop 22. We cannot allow Uber and Lyft to maintain their stranglehold on our state economy, and cutting transit means basically handing it to them. So I really urge the board to choose to not cut transit and work to expand it as much as you physically possibly can. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next speaker, please.
Susan, go ahead, please.
Hi, I'm Susan Butler Graham, a San Jose resident and member of Mothers Out Front, Silicon Valley. While I understand that this is a difficult budget time, as a mother and grandmother, I am very concerned about the proposed 30% cut to public transit. Transit in the South Bay is tenuous and difficult as it is. These cuts would force many people who prefer to use transit to purchase cars, adding tons more carbon to the atmosphere for years to come. These cuts would worsen already difficult commutes for the 80% of VTA riders who rely on public transit to get to work, medical appointments, and school. I know that you care about the climate and about equity. Our city and our county have declared a climate emergency and are working to make our society more just. I urge you to consider solutions to save transit, including front-loading Measure B operations funding, and prevent these cuts. Our community and our climate and our...
Thank you. And our next speaker, please.
We have 4 speakers left. Will be Mallory, phone number ending in 9157, followed by Annabelle, and our last speaker will be Emily. Mallory, please go ahead and speak when you're ready.
Good evening. My name is Mallory and I'm a junior at Homestead High School living in Sunnyvale. Today I am here as part of Silicon Valley Youth Climate Action. In January 2020, the bus route that I depended on to take home from school, bus route 56 down Hollenbach, was cut. This bus route not only serviced my school of Homestead, but also De Anza Community College, Fremont High School, and Challenger Elementary School. All of these students were forced to find new ways to school. Some of us now are relying on cars that pollute our air and congest the roads. The previous cuts made at the end of 2019 have already hurt us, and more cuts will continue to do so. All over the world, we are seeing the damaging effects of climate change. In my lifetime alone, I have already seen horrendous fires, orange skies, and unprecedented storms in California alone. I cannot imagine what the world would be like in 10, even 20 years if these cuts would be made. I urge the board members to not cut any more routes, as many people will be negatively impacted by these decisions both now and in the future. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And our next speaker, please.
The last three speakers are phone numbers ending in 9157, Annabelle and Emily. All the rest, please submit your comments through the email address as you can see on the screen. Phone number ending in 9157, please speak when you're ready.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, my name is Castle Weinstein. I live in South San Jose. I'm a resident and I work downtown. I ride bus and light rail to get to medical appointments, to get to doctor's appointments, to get to the grocery store, to get to work, because I'm a worker now. I depend heavily on public transit because I can't drive because I have PTSD and therefore I have road rage. I haven't, but I would. Buses already are impacted. I mean, every time I ride the bus, most of the time I have to wait for the second bus. People are restricted from riding because of COVID. Extra buses are needed daily, and if without this service, I will not be able to get to work or anywhere. I understand that since charging for rides wasn't an option at the beginning of the COVID, that the funds are less than what they should be, but that doesn't legitimize or justify killing the livelihood of others to make up for it. There's got to be other ways. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next speaker, please.
Annabelle, please go ahead. Annabelle doesn't have the technology, unfortunately.
Okay, if we could go to our last speaker for this section.
Emily, please go ahead and speak when you're ready.
Hi, my name is Emily Pashaod and I live in Campbell and I'm a sophomore at Santa Clara University. When I was living on campus at SCU last year, I completely relied on public transit. I could not afford to take an Uber or Lyft. I needed public transit to take me to locations for class projects and assignments, to take me to the store or go anywhere with friends. While I'm incredibly lucky to have a car now due to where I'm living, I want to get to a point where my car is obsolete and I can take public transit at all times. By cutting the budget, we are moving backwards when we should be pushing forward to expand public transit even more. Passenger vehicles account for such a large portion of California's greenhouse gas emissions, so cutting the budget of public transit will set us back on California's goal to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Please consider solutions to save transit. Thank you.
So I want to thank all of our public speakers. I know we weren't able to get to some people. As was noted, you can contact us. You can send us an email through customer.service@vta.org. The board is very much interested in hearing people's comments for what is going on. I'm going to move on to our next section, which is public hearing number 4. And we don't have any items under number 4, so we're going to move on to committee reports. 5.1, the Citizen Advisory Committee Chair, Marty, is here to provide a brief report.
Good evening, Vice Chair Hendricks, GM Fernandez, and members of the board. The Citizens Watchdog Committee appreciates the importance of the role entrusted to us by Santa Clara County voters to provide oversight for the tax collected under 2000 Measure A and for keeping county residents informed. At our October 7th meeting, the CWC approved our annual report to the public on fiscal year 2019. I'm pleased to announce that the report includes our conclusion that for the period of fiscal year 2019, 2000 Measure A tax dollars were spent in accordance with the intent of the measure. You might have seen our abbreviated report on local newspapers or come across our report on VTA's social media channels. Additionally, the VTA's comprehensive report is available on the updated 2000 Measure A homepage at vta.org/2000 Measure A. I'd kindly request that you share our report with your constituents to broaden our reach. Also, at our last month's meeting, the CWC received a robust presentation from staff on the 2000 Measure A semi-annual report covering the period ending June 30th, 2020. This is on your consent agenda, item 6.4. Under the CAC's regular agenda, the committee received staff presentation on the draft 2021 transit plan. We look forward to providing further input and recommendations at our next meeting when staff presents the final plan for adoption. And our next meeting is Tuesday, November 10th at 4 p.m. Thank you, and that concludes my report. If there are any questions.
Thank you, Marty. I'm not seeing any board members with their hands up, so thank you very much for that information.
We do have 2 public speakers.
Do we do public speakers on each one of these point items or just on 5, period?
Vice Chair, you could take all the comments all at once for item 5.
Let's take all the comments all at once for item 5, and we'll do that at the end after we've had them all. So thank you very much, Marty. Next is 5.2, the Policy Advisory Committee. The Policy Advisory Committee Chair Report is available in your online packet. For 5.3, Standing Committee Chairperson's Report. For item 5.3, the Governance and Audit Committee met earlier today, and we forwarded the BPAC appointment reappointments to tonight's consent agenda. And during the committee's closed session, we discussed the performance evaluations of the General Manager, CEO, and our General Counsel. All other Standing Committee Chair reports are available in your online packet. The Policy Advisory Board Chairperson's Report, there is no report for that today. So that's the end of our item 5, and we'll go ahead and we'll go to our public speakers. If you'd like to go ahead and call on them, please.
We have Mr. Beekman followed by Mr. LeBrun. Please go ahead, Mr. Beekman.
Hi, thank you for your committee meetings this month. I mentioned in GA today that, I just wanted to, this seems like the right time with all the committee meeting items that were probably on this issue, around this issue. I just wanted to thank yourselves for, we were kind of in a dour, grim place by mid-September here at the VTA, and we, funding and budget-wise, I think things were a bit confused and worried. I don't think we're at that place anymore. I think we are seeing that we have a bit of breathing room and we have choices. And I hope we're all open to that. And we've come a long way in the past few months. That's step 1. And what everyone was talking about today, there's going to be 15% of the budget that you're going to have to really consider. What are you going to be cutting in that 15%? I hope you can make that clear to advocacy in the next month so they can work on it and mediate with you what could be good choices. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And our next speaker.
Mr. LeBrun, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. So the first thing I'd like to bring to your attention is that if you actually clicked on the links, you don't have a single committee report there. This is basically a script written by staff. None of the chairs of any of the reports reported anything, let alone what actually, transpired during those meetings. But the thing I do want to bring to your attention, though, under item 5.3, I want to give a huge thank you to Director Rennie for finally asking the question about whether or not the VTA had been maintaining 2 sets of books for the Castle Bar Phase 2. And the answer from Mr. Srinath is that yes, they have. And it's actually, I knew it had been going on for 10 years. According to Mr. Srinath, this has been going on for 20 years. And I would like these numbers to be reflected in the presentation for item 7.1. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And our next speaker, please.
Mr. Ehrman, please go ahead and speak.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. The chairperson of the CAC in his comments mentioned that they had been looking at the 2020-21 draft plan that we brought to the board next week. Considering how important this issue is and how pretty much all speakers before were talking about it, I just don't understand why the board is essentially devoting one meeting to the 2021 plan where it's going to decide everything and not working on it piece by piece every month at each meeting. That just seems very strange to me. Most public meetings that I've attended, like city councils, for example, or school boards, they spend months or weeks going over all the details in their budgets, working it out, listening to the comments, and it seems like the VTA board is just going to spend, one meeting next month and just decide it all and make the cuts, and I just don't understand why you're not working on it tonight. Instead, you're spending time on other items. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That was my last public speaker. Elaine, did you have a comment you wanted to make?
Yes, Chair. I just wanted to clarify that the Standing Committee Chair reports are in the PDF packet, and it's also in the outline on the website under section number 5. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So that's going to take us to item 6, the consent agenda. And this is 6.1 through 6.9. Members of the public who would like to address the board on items of the consent, please raise your hand now on the app or press *9 on your phone. To my colleagues, is there anyone who would like to pull any items off consent or add something to consent? And I'm looking at my little panelist screen and I don't see anything. It looks like we have 2 public speakers, and then we'll go ahead and go to a motion. So to our public speakers, please.
Mr. Beekman, followed by Mr. LeBrun. Mr. Beekman, please go ahead.
Hi, I just wanted to make clear that why we're having, this breathing room at this time of November is that, there's going to be funding patterns from the state of California that is going to be allowing us a certain amount of what we have to consider. And we, at the local level, we have to consider what those funding patterns can offer ourselves at the state level and what they're developing HEROES Act and CARES Act funding financial systems at the state level, because next year there's serious issues of foreclosure, of recession. They're preparing ourselves for that. And because of that, we need to be open at the local level, how those funding patterns can help us at the local level. We can count on those things a lot, but there's still going to be cuts. And that's where, the diciness is. And good luck on how you work on that. Thanks for your patience and letting me talk on this. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next speaker, please.
Mr. LeBrun, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Very quick follow-up on the comment I made earlier. If you go to item 6.4, attachment A, you click on it, and you can see both sets of numbers. That's where I got the numbers from. So if anybody wants to agree, disagree with this, go ahead. The material is right there in front of you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That was the last public speaker we had. Does my colleagues have a motion?
Move approval of the consent calendar.
That was Larry Carr. Is there a second?
Second, Ricardo.
Thank you very much. And Elaine, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Carr.
Aye.
Carrasco.
Aye.
Thank you. Cortese.
Aye.
Dieppe.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Ricardo.
Aye.
McAllister.
Yes.
Nunez.
Yes.
Perales. I'll come back to you. Rennie.
Sorry.
Aye.
Yes.
Thank
Aye.
you.
Aye for Rennie.
And I heard Mr. Perales too. Thank you. Hendricks.
Yes.
And Chairperson Chavez is absent. Motion passed with 11 ayes. And
Great,
1
thank
absent.
you.
Thank you.
And to our listening public, just so you had a couple members of the board have showed up since we did the roll call and you heard them in the roll call vote. So thank you for those people that showed up. We're moving on to our regular agenda. We are now at 7.1. This is about the Silicon Valley Rapid Transit. Again, members of the public, you know how to raise your hand or press *9 if you have questions for after the presentation. And Takis, do you have stuff to share with us? Please.
Yes. Mr. Vice Chair and board members, I am delighted tonight to tell you there is not much work construction work left on phase 1. And I won't bother you anymore with the punch list items and so on. I'd like to share with you that, as you can see on my presentation, that BART accepted the entire project and CPUC review and approve. As I told you before, when we opened the line, we had 43 FTEs working. Today we are at 6, and by Christmas we should be at 0. We're progressing as we planned. And I wanted to also share with you that we are working with FTA to close out the project. Next page, please. This is the typical budget funding profile I share with you. I like to emphasize this is the agreement we worked out many years ago with the federal government. Some of you know the term is full funding grant agreement, and that's what the FTA reviews every month with us, or more frequently at some point. And the final forecast at completion is what I've been telling you for the last 5-6 months. The project is going to have 45 million net savings. Next page, please. Now I would like to update you on phase 2. As you know, we've been working very intensively with FTA to get ready for us to apply for our EPD application and grant. And I'm pleased to acknowledge tonight the hard work by our partners, the City of San Jose staff, the City of Santa Clara, the JPB Caltrain staff, Caltrans, and several utility owners. Just to refresh your memories that as part of the review process and the readiness FTA, and as we work in FTA identifying 10 agreements, third-party agreements, which they define them as critical agreements, criticals for risk exposure, cost exposures, and they wanted us to have these agreements in place before our application is being submitted. And here they are. We have all 10 agreements in place. Today we had another, every 2 days we have reviews with FTA, both headquarters and Region 9 here in San Francisco. And now we are down to 3 questions. And we will try to respond to those questions to them by tomorrow. And hopefully we'll be ready to submit. As far as we're concerned, we're ready to submit. We would like FTA to say submit. Real estate acquisitions progressing as we were planning. Appraisals is underway. And the BART and VTA staff continue to work to finish the BART requirements. Some of you remember that we need to have all the BART requirements before we put out any contracts. And of course, we continue with our design and development of our procurement documents. Next page, please. Next page, please. This is our schedule, and I have some news to share with all of you. You remember I told you a couple of times now that we do a request for industry feedback. We put out the tunnel, and we have also our systems contracts. I'm very pleased to tell you that last Friday, which was the deadline for the contracting consortia to express an interest to work on our job, we got 10 responses. And about 6, 7 of these 10 are prominent corporations. Any of these companies can build this project. The number 1 construction corporation in America is part of it. The number 2, the number 4, the number 14. I'm pretty sure you know of all these companies. So we are very happy to have this participation. This is exactly what we were thinking, to get a good market action in responding to us. Now, starting next week, we're going to start the one-on-ones. And the next time I'll be before you again, I will have a similar list for our systems contract. And we're going to brief you there how the project competitiveness looks like. For the tunnel, I see a good competition here. I hope to tell you the same thing for the systems. That's all I have. Mr. Vice Chair, I don't have anything else. I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, Thank you. Raj, did you want to say something before I went to public comments?
Mr. Chair, yes. Tarkus, would you mind going back to your cost summary you had for phase one, that slide? Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. I just, at the CNPP meeting about a month ago or so, I did make a statement on this, and I just want to expand on that. Number one, there are no two sets of books. Very clearly, I want to state that for the record, there are no two sets of books. VTA is a public agency and a heavily regulated agency. All our financial information are publicly available. Yes, there are two separate reports, not to be conflated with two sets of books. What Tarkus is talking about on this is about the FFGA project, and the reporting is dictated by FTA. And all of those, if you look at the cost category summaries there, for example, 10, 20, 30, 40, it's not that Tarkus cannot count 1 to 100, he can, and he's not skipping anything. These are the FTA-defined cost categories. And the reporting is also dictated by FTA because they fund this project. However, we also produce a much more detailed report on all of the costs associated with the BART project, including some of the prep work that was done, but those are not part of it, the FFGA application. Again, this was all done well over 10 years ago, whenever VTA applied for the full funding grant agreement, and the FTA decided only these elements could be included as part of the FTA project for them to fund. So that's how this was done. So I just wanted to clear that. I don't want any member of the public, leave alone the board, to think that there are two sets of books. There aren't. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, great. Thank you. And to my colleagues, I'm going to go ahead and let's go to public comment first, and then we'll see if any of my colleagues have any questions.
We have 3 public comments. Roland, followed by Mr. Beekman and Tessa. Roland, please go ahead.
Mr. Srinath, thank you so much for clarifying that you have got two sets of reports. And I apologize for calling them for two sets of books. In the other report right now, you have got $1.1 billion, including $26 million in the last year alone. That's where all the state and local funding is, and you're only reporting the federal funding to the board. With regards to phase 2, there is no environmental clearance for the 2 cut and cover structures. There is no board-approved funding plan. And by the way, the slide with the funding plan, it's missing from the presentation again. And last but not least, in your funding plan, you have got $2 billion of Measure A, which are a blatant violation of the Measure A ballot language, which actually codified all the southern entrances in BART Phase 2. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next speaker, please.
Hi, thank you. Item 6.1 was about a 2020 financial statement of review of revenue. So thank you. I was able to speak on that, and thanks. With 47 seconds, good luck, as I always have been saying, how you can bring the BART down through St. John to through the park, and that you consider, when you consider one station kiosk or 2 on each side of the street, as long as it's earthquake safety, I think that has to be the most important. Good luck in deciding if the arena is a place to have a new BART station or not. That's always been thinking. And with 18 seconds, they are really considering in Fremont a second, along with the Capital Corridors Joint Power Board that VTA is a part of, they're considering a second train station. What's up with that? Is that a sign of things to come, and that high-speed rail will be going through the East Bay or not? Thank you.
Thank you. And our next speaker, please.
Tessa, please go ahead.
Thank you. Well, it'd be good if you had, like the city of San Jose, you explain what item you're on. That needs to be done for our school, our democracy school. But I think we're on 6.1 about revenues and expenses. And the revenues that we're getting, we have to stop getting revenues and be all about capitalist greed and what do I call it? Evil, immoral, selfish, and greedy to fund our, business as usual. And we need to stop. Everything needs to be at home. We have to become hyper local. And the fact that the city of San Jose doesn't even support its workers to stay home, that has to change. And everything needs to be hyper local. So even the issue of transit, it needs to be hyper local. That's why BART needs to stop. We need to cut down BART way back to have only two stations, if at all. And that's it, and we have to be very hyper local because we're all staying home. We all need to stay home. That's what COVID.
Okay, thank you. That was our last public speaker. And just so everyone's aware, we've been on item 7.1. Did my colleagues have any questions that they wanted to ask? I'm not seeing anybody raise their hand in my panel here. This was an information only item, so I don't think we need to take a vote. That means we're going to move on to item 8. And so everyone knows we'll be taking public comment on item 8 at the end of all the sub pieces to it. And the first item we have here is 8.1, the general manager's report. Nuria, do you have any awesome stuff you'd like to share with us?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair and members of the board. My report is going to be limited to the items that are listed. I want to just make you aware that the information regarding ridership and safety and security is in the folder. Item 8.1A is a presentation that's going to be given by Andrew Burke, our Regional Transportation Services Manager. So I'll turn it over to Andy.
All right, thank you, Nuria, and thank you, members of the board. Today, I'm going to kind of go over with you just an update on our paratransit vehicle preparedness and what we've been doing when it came to the pandemic with our ADA access fleet. So please go to the next slide. So this slide is just kind of a quick overview of our ridership trends for paratransit. As you can see, we're still about 70% down from pre-COVID numbers. There was an uptick kind of going into July, but then it kind of leveled out in the August and September when we reinstated the fares. Next slide, please. This slide, it kind of breaks down what types of trips we're currently having. And when it came to one of the last presentations I had, it was asked to kind of break this down. So this is the information that it kind of comes down to. And so you'll notice that a lot of the trips are starting to come back with healthcare, food and shopping. But with our community centers, for instance, like adult daycares, blind centers, churches, community and senior centers, these facilities haven't really started to open up yet, which is a lot of where our trips typically are. And so once that starts to, those facilities begin to open up, we do believe an influx of ridership will start to come back. Next slide, please. We're taking proactive approaches when it comes to the pandemic. Each day, our drivers are screened before entering the facility with a questionnaire of how are you feeling? Are you showing any symptoms? And if they are required to do a 14-day self-quarantine if they have been suspected of contracting COVID-19, and they're unable to come back to work until they have that negative test from those various test sites. Next slide, please. Here is just a quick thing where our minivans were outfitted with what we're calling driver bubbles. It was a proactive measure to allow a safety precaution for our drivers and our passengers to make sure that they felt safe because of that social distancing. We wanted to make sure that there was plenty of space for our drivers as well as our passengers to be able to be in the vehicle. Next slide, please. We are outfitting our drivers with PPE such as gloves, sanitizer, face masks, face shields. We also have on standby extra masks and sanitizer for our riders. We still stand by VTA's policy, no mask, no ride. So if somebody might have forgotten their mask, we do have some on standby for them just in case. Next slide, please. And again, just vehicle upkeep. Our drivers are constantly going through and keeping the vehicle up to snuff with daily sanitization, and even in between trips, they're utilizing CDC-approved materials and cleaning materials. We've also ensured that vehicle capacity when it comes to per trips is limited to 1 to 2 people per trip to ensure that proper social distancing. We do have an exemption in there for family members or households that are traveling together. And also when it comes to the actual sanitization, our drivers and our cleaning crew are provided checklists to make sure that they don't miss any parts of the vehicle. Next slide, please. So if a driver does test positive or is exposed to COVID, what do we do? So the first thing we do is we make sure that we remove the driver from service and tell them to self-quarantine and go get tested. The vehicle is also removed from service and goes through the deep cleaning and sanitization. The case is reported to VTA as well as the Santa Clara Public Health Office, which is going to trigger our contact tracing initiative. So we contact all of the passengers or individuals that were in contact with the driver 72 hours prior to when they believe that they were exposed. And so that these individuals are now informed and told to self-quarantine or go get tested. And then once that takes place, we ask the driver to get tested, and they're able to return back once they have they feel better, as well as producing a negative test result for us. Next slide. And with that, board and committee members, thank you for that. I'll take questions at this time.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry. We could take questions now, or I could just wrap the GM's. Yeah, we could wrap up the GM's presentation and take questions on both items.
Okay.
Yeah. The next item, which is the government affairs update, that the written report is in the packet. And I believe I referenced the security statistics and preliminary ridership report. So with that, that concludes the GM report, and we're open for questions.
Okay, even though we're going to do public comments all at the end, do any of my colleagues have anything on what was just discussed here? I'm not seeing any of my colleagues raise their hands, so I'm going to keep going down through here. That brings us to 8.2, which is the chairperson's report. And Cindy didn't leave me any separate specific things, but I do have a couple things to review. 8.2a, it's now time that we need to consider the board leadership for 2021. Each year we elect our board chair and vice chair for a 1-year term. And according to board policy, we rotate these positions among the representative groups. And for the 2021 term, the board chair shall be selected from any of the representatives from city groups 2 through 5, which is the Northwest, the West Valley, South County, and the Northeast. And I hope all you board members know which group you represent. And the board chair is going to be selected from City Group 1, which is the city of San Jose. So those eligible for election are those who will be serving on the VTA board in 2021 and 2022. Any eligible member who wishes to serve should send a letter of interest to the chair about that. And at our December meeting, the chair will announce those that have shown interest in serving, and we will take nominations from the floor as well. And then we will elect the chair and vice chair for 2021. The newly elected chair and vice chair will take office on January 1st, 2021. Next, 8.2b is we have our proposed 2021 Board of Directors meeting schedule, and it's included in your agenda package with the dates that are proposed for 2021. Please review the proposed schedule and notify the board office and there it is on your screen, if you have any potential conflicts, and we will consider approval of these dates at our December 3rd meeting. And I would just like to make a side note for all of us with complex calendars and stuff. You should go ahead and plug those dates into your calendar for next year as soon as possible. Any of my colleagues have any questions on that? Again, I'm not seeing you guys raise your hands, so I assume that means I explained it very well. Does anyone have any items of concerns or referral to the administration?
I think you explained it really well, Glenn.
Thank you. Mr. McAllister, did you have an item?
Yeah, I had 2 items of concern. There were some more rhetorical, but observations. This is the last election, and term limits, et cetera. We're going to be the VTA board is going to lose 9 members of its current board right now. And that is a huge drain of talent, knowledge, experience, wisdom, all wrapped up. So going forward, I just hope that the decisions that people make or the people that come forward have the same depth that and experience and all work together and with the GM, continue to move forward with the VTA. So that's going to be a huge loss, but hopefully there are people in the wings that will step up. But that's why one of the things that the ad hoc committee was trying to get people to start qualifying people and trying to get them engaged. And definitely next year is going to be a great year to try to get people engaged because there's a huge learning curve. And that was one of my concerns. The other concern I have is the recent discussion that VTA is doing about their 10-year allocation of Measure B money. And I hope that I know there is a transparency that the VTA is working on very strongly and have a website and so forth. So there is going to be a lot of innuendos and talk about, what's going on. But VTA is doing a great opportunity to do public discussion and transparency, and I appreciate that. But this is one area that's going to be very important that we maintain that transparency, and everybody has an opportunity to discuss throughout the cities, throughout the region to do that. So those are my 2 areas of concerns, and that's it, Chair.
Yeah, I think so Nuri doesn't have to speak. I think to your item about budget discussions, those are planned to go through the committees. So that's in process and being scheduled. And then to the comment about the board, just so everybody doesn't freak out, the number that John used there is board members and alternates that are coming off. And I have already made a suggestion and I think the chair is going to write a letter and make sure we're sending a letter to all the appointing agencies so they can get some information about and some of the concerns we've had about board governance and stuff to what John, you were just referring to for the new appointees that are going to come. I don't see anybody else's hands raised because John's going to put his hand down now. So with that, let's go ahead and go back to public comments here for item number 8. And so staff, if you could get us our public comments, please.
We have 4 public comments. Tessa, followed by Aaron, Eugene, and Roland. Tessa, please go ahead.
All right. Okay, Teresa, I don't know if Teresa O'Neill won, but I've had a good talk with Teresa O'Neill because Teresa O'Neill has what we call, and what I appreciate you all talking about, what is it called? Institutional history. She's been on it a long time. She supports the bus rapid transit and, and which has been a total failure. And so I'm really suggesting to your governance board, and I was telling this to Teresa, that we need to have an institutional memory person on the board. You need to redo your board. That's what the, whatever it was, the grand jury said. You have a bad governance product, and you need to improve that. And I said that we need to keep the institutional memory. And I wanted Teresa O'Neill, I don't know if she won or not, but I know you're talking about a change, and this is really critical. And we need, of course, to realign Measure B, and BART needs to be realigned, and we need to have that be an open process because we need to realign Measure B so that we can have the funding for our local transit that needs to be.
Thank you. And our next speaker, please.
Mr. Morrow, please go ahead and speak when you're ready. Aaron, can you unmute yourself?
I'd like to, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I would like to speak to the item of the ADA Paratransit and the COVID preparedness update. I just want to thank Andrew Burke and Laura Corona, MV's general manager, for really taking these precautions seriously. I support what's in the package. And the only thing that I would add is that, God forbid, passenger gets COVID on any of your VTA service vehicles, I would hope VTA staff along with the contractor, MV would work with the passenger on getting some type of COVID testing, either through the county or their private insurance, and that the contractor would kindly pay any co-pays or deductible that person may have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And our next speaker, please.
Mr. Bradley, please go ahead and speak.
Evening, board members. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
This is Eugene Bradley. I'm the founder and CEO of the Silicon Valley Transit Users. I want to thank VTA staff for the presentation just now, what they've done so far to handle COVID. Just one thing that I found disturbing, even worse than having my own mother pass away just about a couple of weeks ago, the fact that one of our drivers was perished from COVID, and the fact that VTA hadn't told anybody which bus lines that she used before she had contacted COVID and unfortunately passed on. I want to thank staff for notifying me that she had driven the early morning 57 and late evening 66 bus lines. The fact that VTA never notified the public about which bus lines that Ms. Lopez drove before she contacted COVID and died just disturbs me, especially when VTA wants to talk about establishing trust. When you're not honest with your public, you can't build trust. You got to change that. Thank you.
Thank you. And to our next speaker, please.
Mr. LeBrun, please go ahead.
Thank you. And the first thing I would like to do is to express my appreciation to Nuria and the staff for the precautions they're taking to protect the most vulnerable riders in the system, which are the people who use paratransit. Now, with regards to Mr. McAllister's point about what just happened to the board, well, basically, that's what you get for having appointed members. And until you change the system, you pass the legislation, and you have members who are elected, and preferably without term limits, just like the bar board, well, nothing's going to change. So I just thought I'd put that out there for your consideration. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think
That concludes our public. Tess had already spoken before.
Okay, thank you. So that brings us to the end of item 8, and now we're at item 9, which is our closed session. We're going to be recessing to closed session now. I'd like all my board members to please go. I think you got instructions on a separate link to be able to get to our closed session. And I would like to remind my colleagues that when we're done in closed session, we need everybody to come back to this session so we can actually close out our meeting. So does anybody have any questions or concerns about how to get to closed session? Does anybody need Elaine to send them the link again or anything?
Vice Chair, this is Elaine. I sent I resent the link at 5:45 p.m. today.
Okay.
So if you guys just check your email. Yeah.
So everybody should have that.
Yes.
And so with that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to adjourn to our closed session and then come back here at the end. And I look forward to seeing all my colleagues in closed session. And I suppose I should go ahead and say what we're doing in closed session is item A, it's a public employee performance review per government code 54957 for our general manager, and B, a public employee performance evaluation for our general counsel, again, per government code section 54957. So see you all in closed session.
Okay, hang on, folks. I'll go ahead and resend it to everybody so that it just floats up to the top.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to wait to see my screen fill back up with my colleagues. Elaine, are you there? Elaine, can you hear me? Larry, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can hear you.
Okay, good. I want to make sure somebody was.
Yeah.
So Elaine or Evelyn or somebody from the board, do you guys hear me? And do we have enough people to go ahead and restart?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so with that, we're reconvening. We ended our closed session and we're reconvening here in the main room. And as it relates to our closed session, there is no reportable action for our closed session items 91A and 91B. And if there is no other action from my colleagues, I'm going to go ahead and adjourn tonight's meeting. Thank you all very much for attending, and we'll see you at our follow-up meetings. Thank you very much, and that's the end of the meeting. Oh,
thank you.
And I did want to go ahead and say that we are closing tonight's meeting in memory of Audrey Lopez. And so before everyone leaves, if we can just have a moment of silence. And thank you all very much. That's the end of tonight's meeting. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Glenn.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. We will end the meeting for all now.